Hi, my name is Samantha Casso, and I am the host of Real Talk, where we get real and then we talk about it. I'm here with our guest today, John Sullivan. Welcome, John, to the program.
Hi. How do you do? Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So we are here today to talk about haunted houses.
A perfect subject for this time of year.
Yes, absolutely. And I hear that you have a little experience in haunted houses yourself.
Oh, 35 years worth of haunting. Not me personally, but I've built them. We were the first haunted house on Cape Cod in 1978, and I did it with the Barnstable High School Drama Club, and we did it for 30 years. And we tried different things. We did a sit-down show for a couple of years where we brought 60 people in at a time and frightened them and made them laugh. We did, the Monster Mash, and Freddy Krueger shows up, and we did the whole night on Bald Mountain, and we had, it was crazy. But we were doing, I think, 4 shows a night. They were 20-minute shows, so it was 4 shows a night, and so we were just cranking. And after 2 years, we were like, let's go back to the, let's go back to the maze. It was easier.
Yeah.
And we did the same amount of people, but I mean, it was fun. But the maze works the best because you don't know what's around every corner. And because you have people who are what I refer to as Class 5 free-floating apparitions, you can allow them to wander through the place, so no 2 tours are exactly the same. Yes, you know you're going into this section, or you know you're going into that section, but you don't know what's going to happen there because the people are allowed to move around. They're not stationed at any one point at any one time.
Oh.
Yes.
So you have a long history of doing haunted houses.
Yes.
And you're doing one again this year for Halloween.
Yes, we are doing one at 17 Shad Hole Road at the Cape Cod Community Media Center in their 5,000 square foot warehouse in the back of the studio. We've set up a big maze. We have 13 rooms because that's a given. There always has to be 13 rooms. And we have every kind of horror that is sort of Cape Cod related. It's ocean and beach, and no ghost sharks yet. Maybe we'll get there next year.
Maybe
no
it's a bit
sharks.
too soon this year.
Yes, I think so. I know what with the death and all. But I think that it's called the Haunted Harbor instead of a haunted house. And actually, the biggest problem I had one year was people searching around the waterfronts of Dennisport looking for a harbor.
Oh, an actual harbor.
An actual harbor. They didn't realize it was inside. Which, by the way, I may say that inside is much better because for example, this weekend, there's a nor'easter coming.
Oh, fun.
And what's going to happen is that it's all going to be, all the outside events are going to be washed away. But we're inside, and it just makes the building creak a little bit more, and that makes it more fun.
Wonderful. So you've been doing the haunted house here at the Media Center for 3 years now.
Yes, ma'am.
How is this year different than the past 3 years?
What we did is we moved things around. We kind of upped some of the factors in certain rooms that worked well. And if things weren't working well, then we said, okay, let's try this instead. Mark Davis, who famously did the Haunted Mansion for Disney, said that it's really hard to tell a story in a haunted house because he tried to tell a story of a wedding that went bad, and that's what happened in the Haunted Mansion. And you never kind of get that idea. But you see the bride, and you see, all the party guests are outside, and, there's a big table with all the people celebrating and everything like that in there. But you couldn't follow the story. So what we do is we just set up a premise.
Okay.
Is that the veil between the two worlds, between the spirit world and the real world, become thin in October, and you have to watch out because in this place, things could happen. And so that's just the premise. We let everybody know that, and then once they go through, things happen.
So this is kind of a unique theme for us on Cape Cod, a haunted harbor, a nautical theme.
Yes. Well, I was out buying every fish net and every lobster trap I could get my hands on, So just to keep it that way. So, and of course, anybody who has who's watching this and would like to donate any old stuff they have in their backyards, like lobster traps or barrels or crates or cranberry boxes and things like that, I'll take them all. I'll take them all.
Okay, great. And for next year, do you think the Haunted Harbor is coming back?
Well, until I get really tired of it, you know, then I intend to keep doing it. It raises money for scholarships for kids who want to go into the arts, you know, whether or not it's television production or filmmaking or theater. They can apply to this in the spring and get some of that money to help them go to school. So that's sort of a give back community thing that I like about it, you know.
And this is a community themed event. Your cast and crew are all local residents.
Oh, we've had everybody. We've had 80-year-old people in it, and we've had 8-year-old people in it. So the thing is that it's quite the range of people inside, and it's great. Everybody just seems to, and everybody comes back, you know, which is great. When we first started, we had a very small cast of people who had to rely on getting all their friends in. Now, all those people from the last 2 years have all come back. We haven't had anybody not come back. And that way they've all brought more friends to come back, and then those friends will bring friends, and so it's building. So each year, you know, so this year we started out with a bigger cast than we've had in past years.
That's great.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about how people could come to this event if they wanted to?
Okay, it's a first come first serve. You can't make reservations. Okay, so you have to wait in the line. So the closer you get here, say we open the doors at 6 o'clock. So if you got here at 6:15, that'd probably be about the right time. So at 6:15, you come in, you buy a ticket, you get in line, and then when you are chosen in depending on how long the line is and how big the group is. We go as low as 2, and we go as high as 6. And so, and depending upon the group, you know, like for example, if it's 6 rowdy adults, well, then we're going to divide them up in 3, you know, so it's only 3 and 3, 3 and 3. If it's really scared children that are clinging on to each other and there's 6 of them, well, we'll let them all go through, you know. 'Cause we've had groups of brownies come through our other haunted house, and all they did was hang on to each other. And just everybody would look up every now and then and scream and go back down, and they would just take these little baby steps, you know. And so you kind of gauge it. It's the person who collects the tickets really is the person who controls that, you know, because they have to gauge. And so like we also have a policeman out front, so we try to keep the inebriated out, you know, and that way there's no destruction to the haunted house. The goal of anybody who runs a haunted house is to keep all the people who are in the haunted house safe. The answer isn't to put them at risk, you know, you want them to come back. You don't want someone with like a broken nose or something because somebody punched them. Or one year we had a girl being dragged out of a crowd by a werewolf. And there was someone who was really inebriated, and he thought that it was really a thing, and he went after the werewolf and started tried to save the girl.
Oh.
But he was so gone, he kept falling down, you know, because we had hay and stuff like that back when you could do that kind of thing. And so we finally had to get a couple of people up there and get him out. That was when we did it at the West End Marketplace down at the end of Hyannis.
Oh.
Across from the joke shop there, yeah.
Okay.
When it was being built, I did all the murals inside, and I painted the carousel and everything like that. And so when he wanted, the owner wanted to get people to come and see the place, because they had just opened a restaurant in the front, but the rest of it wasn't finished. So I said, well, why don't we do a haunted house upstairs? And even though at that time, the ADA hadn't put in the
the
Disabilities Act, right. So technically there was no elevator yet to get anybody up there, but I kept a couple of football players on hand that anybody who was in a wheelchair, we actually, one guy showed up in a wheelchair, and these three guys grabbed the wheelchair and they lifted him all the way up the stairs and they brought him right up. Boom! The guy says that was the smoothest ride I ever had.
Oh,
so we got him through, and so we had about 3,000 people show up, and they got 3,000 people saw the West End Marketplace, saw what was going on, and things like that. So the owner was very happy. I was happy. But the man who was trying to save the werewolf victim was not happy.
No, I imagine he's not.
No. But we haven't had any problem with that so far, and I don't think the way I've set it up sort of prevents that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's emergency exits throughout, right?
Yes, we have. There's lots of exits. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exits throughout the whole place, and if it gets too much, you just out the door and see you later. And but you don't get your money back. If you don't make it through the first 2 events, then we give you your money back. If you make it about halfway through, then we keep the money because it's for a good cause. I mean, you're helping some kid go to college.
Yeah, that's great. And so
by traumatizing your child.
Oh, jeez. So a lot of your former students from Barnstable High School are involved with this project.
Yes. Let me just start. We've had Sean Hagen write the music for it. So there's a clown theme, there's a pirate theme, and there's the overall theme for the Haunted Harbor. It's done by Sean Hagen. And then we had Richard Archer come in and show us some magic tricks, and they're used by the clowns. And then we've had former students come in and help build the flats that made the walls and then assemble the flats. And so, I mean, it's great. It's just great. Matt Kohler comes in every year, and the walls go up really in about 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, the walls just boom, 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 3 hours. But then you have to secure the walls. You have to make sure that they're up, they're painted correctly and all this kind of stuff. And it just hit me. We didn't get the chalk off the walls where it says like dinosaur room and clown room and everything like that, did we?
I think actually you did.
Oh, okay.
In the clown room especially, it's washed off. You can see a little bit of chalk, but
I remember I was like, I forgot all about that, because we usually mark the walls so we know where to put them back up again.
Oh,
because we take the whole thing down, we put it away, and then we put it back up again. But to get the props in place and the overhead supports with netting and everything like that takes time. So it probably, like I said, 3 hours to get all the walls up, and about another month to, set the place nice.
Yeah, and you have to get approval from a building
department.
Yes,
the building
right?
department. We have to get an architect to okay the plan that I put up, and then the building commissioner and the building inspector come and they check it, along with the local builder who signs off on it, and then the fire department comes through and checks everything, so it's 100% safe.
That's good. Yes. So and you help everyone who's actually in the cast and crew. They know what to do if someone's too scared.
Yes. Yeah. Oh no. There are ways of just extricating people who are freaking out to get out of the place, and everybody understands that too. Children have a line of fantasy and reality that you have to be careful on, because I did a film one time where the guy who was going to play a troll was actually sitting down playing with the kids for 3 days before we were going to film, so they all got used to him and played with him and everything. And then one day they watched me put his makeup on, but as soon as they put the makeup on, he wasn't Alan anymore. He was that monster. And they all started crying, and they didn't want anything to do with them, and so the whole film had to be scrapped because these kids just didn't want to have anything to do with them. And not that my makeup was so spectacular that that it fooled them, but it's just that they just had the line between fantasy and reality changed for them.
Absolutely.
So then that's what happens when it happens in there.
And that's fun for adults when they can
Right.
kind of suspend their disbelief and go through the haunted harbor and get scared.
Right.
But for kids, sometimes it's a bit harder for them to know the line.
It is. And so that's why people say, I have a 6-year-old who doesn't get scared. I said, okay, bring him through. And then if you have somebody who, I mean, we've had 6-year-olds go through with no problem at all. We've had adults cry.
Oh no.
Yeah. So it's hard to find out, what's going to work.
Great. So I hear that you're planning some changes for next year.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't want to announce them on television, but what we're going to try to do is build some more elaborate props. Like, for example, this year we had a crab, his name was Terebus, and he's a giant mutant crab that's in back there, but he was on the floor level. And so it's one thing what you're looking down at. So we boosted him up 2 feet, and we built rises for him, and everybody who sees him this year thinks he's bigger.
Yeah.
Everybody said, boy, he's bigger than last year, and it's because he's up higher. And so, we have a dragon this year, but I mean, if he were on a 3-foot platform, I mean, he would be far more imposing than, you looking at him in the eye instead of looking up at him. He'd be more imposing. So I think maybe things like that. You have to think of the visual, on how the audience sees it.
Yes, like Lord Kinboat over
yes,
there.
Right.
He's already a tall guy.
Right.
And you put him on a platform.
Put him on a platform, so he's gigantic when he stands. And so that's that's what I did with the pirates this year too. Is that we put some risers in there so the pirates could be standing up on a elevated surface, talking to people that come through, and that just makes it more intimidating. It gives you more of the childlike thing. Like in my garden, one of the people who visit it say, it's like being a child again. And the reason is that all my flowers are 6 feet tall.
Oh.
Yeah. And they're on a 2-foot-high raised bed, so they're 8 feet tall. So when you're walking through, there's flowers over your head and things like that. So that's what you want to try to do, is you want to immerse everybody into this world that we're creating in there.
Yeah, and another way you immerse people into the world is by bringing the ceiling down a little bit. We're in a giant warehouse, but
right.
It doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It feels very confined. And part of it is because, well, you can't put a solid roof over everything because that's against fire department regulations, but you can have open netting, for it, and because the water could come through should something unfortunate happen. Somebody spontaneous can bust in the haunted house. And so, and all you do is have to feel that there's something there, that makes you feel like there's a ceiling. So we may have some ropes or lines or pieces of net going like zigzagging across with open spaces that go all the way up, 50 feet to the ceiling, but you don't feel that because you can feel that piece of something up over your head, and that way you feel like you're more in a confined space. Like the Pirates Room, for example.
Oh, right.
Like we closed that down a lot this year than last year. It was as far as bringing the ceiling in, and I think that room works really well.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to wrap up a little bit, and as we come to the close,
Sure.
do you want to just remind people of where they can come see the Haunted Harbor?
Sure.
Where they
The
can get more
Haunted Harbor
information?
is open from the 25th through the 30th. We open at 6. We close at 8:30, and but sometimes we'll close sooner if nobody shows up. If the line goes down, I can't have 40 people just sitting around playing canasta. We've got to send them home. So the thing is that we open at 6, so get here early. We'll stay open until the last person shows up in the line. And then, again, we're not open Halloween night because everybody wants to go out trick-or-treating, so we don't want to be interfering with that. And it's at 17 Shad Hole Road here in beautiful Dennisport. And I'd certainly make the trip to see it because I believe we're now the only haunted house on Cape Cod. And with the nor'easter coming this weekend, no outside things are going to work. So we're it. So come on by.
Absolutely. Well, thank you to my guest, John Sullivan, for joining us on this episode of Real Talk. I am your host, Samantha Casso, and thank you so much for joining us.